Tonight I'm going to be talking about Ubuntu, the Ubuntu philosophy and how it brings us together as a community. How we are interconnected and how we are proactive. If we are intentional, we can actually connect in such a way that we can build communities no matter where we are. Even if we're away from our villages, away from our tribes, away from our places of birth. When we come together and we speak in a common language, we find commonalities, we start to build our own communities. This is important because we all value community. We all belong, we want to have a sense of belonging, and we find that in our communities. And one of the things that I've realized is that the moment you feel like you don't belong, that's when you're detached from your community, and that can be very, very difficult for anyone, really. Now, this is important for future development because this is what we share with our young ones, right? They are growing up in these communities. And we don't want them to lose their identity because we come from places where we also have rich cultures. And we want them to have a sense of belonging, even if they are here, even when they are here.
The significance of tonight's events is that it's looking at what are the strengths of the African Australian community and look at the strengths and then help develop the community, flourish, and also inspire other young people who's coming up in terms of business aspiration, mentoring, and also creating opportunities for people who are interested in business as well. And also on the other end, you want to make sure that the social cohesion is happening, that African Australian community flourishing, growing, also interacting and collaborating with other community groups, and really that sense of belonging of what it means to be Australian. I want to see people saying, oh, I met the African Aussie guy, which becomes a very natural thing rather than saying, oh, you're African. No, you're African Australian now. But we want you to be an African Aussie where it becomes a normal language.
Look, it's not only important for Australian communities, but actually locally here in Blacktown, we actually have a tradition since the 1950s of really expanding our population based on resettlements after the Second World War with the European migration, and then you follow it all the way through the last 70 years where the migrant population has made Blacktown one of the fastest growing cities for 70 years in a row, and that's through the wonderful contribution of the migrant people. If you don't know where you come from, then you're dealing with a lot of personal inner issues of who you are and what are you doing here, so to speak. So by understanding the language, the culture, you become a better citizen in the Australian, and you're bringing the best of your culture into Australia. Australia is a melting pot of different cultures, and it's important that they maintain their heritage and culture, but also add to the flavour of Australia.
Well, Remember Africa is really about celebrating African culture, talking about African lifestyle, celebrating African travel destinations, and really bringing the best of African living to our audience. Remember Africa is a magazine that's published online, and we published in English, and the reason we're doing that is to reach the widest possible audience, particularly in the diaspora. We want to make sure everyone's getting access to our African lifestyle content. Another important reason why we're publishing in English and online is that we want to reach the young Africans out there, particularly in the diaspora. We want them to get connected to their African roots, to appreciate the positive aspects of African culture, and to celebrate the good things about African culture that they can continue on in their lives wherever they are in the world.
It's important to maintain African heritage in Australia because, to me, I feel like we are keeping our culture alive. We are surrounded by so many diverse ethnicities around us. You know, we've got the Arabs, we've got the Asians, we've got the Indians, and I think it's important to keep our culture, to pass it down to our generations and keep that alive. I have a 3.5-year-old myself, and he gets his hair braided and he goes to a school where it's super diverse, and I really want to fulfill his future with so much African culture so that he can then pass it down to his children as well.